Okay. Good evening and welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council, which has been held in line with public health guidance to protect all attendees. The remote attendance of councillors will be recorded in the minutes and members will be able to address Council, but will not be able to vote. Only those present in the chamber can vote on items. Please, can all councillors and attendees on MS Teams ensure that their camera is off and their microphone muted until invited to speak. Please use the raise hand function if you wish to speak. We now move on to business. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Catherine Samaras and Councillor Patrick Edwards. Are there any other apologies from the Labour Group? Councillor Terry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have apologies from Councillor Dore, Councillor Flowers and Councillor Lacey Holland.
Thank you. Are there any other apologies from Conservative Group? Councillor Fitzgerald.
No, I haven't received any other apologies, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interests. Do councillors have any declarations of interest in relation to this evening's business? No. Okay, thank you. Item 3, minutes of the council meeting held on 21st October 2021. Do you agree the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 21st October are correct? Thank you. Item 4, public statements. We shall now move on to public statements. We will first hear from local resident and community representative Nafia Horozoglu in relation to the lowering of the flag of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Nafia, you have 3 minutes when you are ready. Yes.
Councillors, I am Nafia Horozoglu and I live in Leighton in the borough, and I am chair of the Turkish Cypriot Youth and Family Association. I'm here, I exist, and so does Turkish Cypriots. Why are you deciding and relegating me and my community to be a second and third class citizen? Because that is how I feel. I have been discriminated against. My community has been discriminated against. Why are you discriminating against people of my ethnicity? Why does my existence offend you? If I dragged the Union Jack down after it was raised, would not all Britons be offended? Would you, Councillor Williams, be deeply, deeply offended and upset if I brought down your flag? Your letter states that civic space should be a welcome place for the benefit of all. Why are Turkish Cypriots excluded from that? Exclusion is the tool that enforces inequality and prejudice. Councillor Williams, you are a woman. 100 years ago, you would not have been allowed to vote or to hold public office because women were excluded. Why are you excluding us? What other minorities are you using the tool of exclusion against? Until people like you stop using the power of exclusion, there will never be a fair or equal world. Because let me tell you how unwelcome your actions have made me feel. Your actions demonstrate your contempt for the Turkish Cypriot community. To raise our flag, one of the few things that is symbolic of our ethnic identity, and then to have it torn down clearly discriminates against Turkish Cypriots. This, in my opinion, is racism and discrimination. We exist. Turkish Cypriots exist. I am not sorry if that offends you, because that is your prejudice against a small ethnic minority community. You have not apologized to us. Your letter apologizes to other communities because we offend them. How do you have the right to deem Turkish Cypriots as offensive? Why do you have the authority to decide that Waltham Forest will exclude Turkish Cypriots? Your actions demonstrate you are not fit for public office, and therefore I trust you will do the right thing by resigning your position. In recognition of the offence you have caused to the Turkish Cypriot community and residents, and as an apology, we will only accept reinstatement of our flag before the end of December, and for it to remain for the length of time originally intended and agreed. To conclude, we Turkish Cypriots live in Britain because we thought we had found refuge from persecution, discrimination, and racism, and are shocked to find it alive here in Waltham Forest. We demand Councillor Grace Williams' resignation, reinstatement of the flag in apology, a statement of apology from Waltham Forest Council. Turkish Cypriots exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the Leader of the Council like to respond, or will you be getting back to the Speaker in writing?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to respond, and I'd like to thank Nadia for attending tonight and speaking so powerfully about this important issue. And I also just want to make it clear that we have received a number of requests to speak, but because of the COVID situation, we have to restrict the number of speakers and public guests today for the safety of everyone in this room, and this has been managed in line with our council processes. I recognise the upset this has caused in our whole community, and I appreciate how sensitive this is and how difficult and important it is to our whole community. My decision to lower the flag in Fellowship Square was not taken easily, and it was not a comment on the status of Northern Cyprus. It's based on my view that the space is there to be used for everyone, and that means it has to be used for the benefit of all. Therefore, I've been really clear that in the future, no flags will be raised where a territory is not recognised by the UK government. I already announced this decision, was clear about this decision. This applies to any request going forward, and it is one made without discrimination, regardless of the part of the community the request is coming from. Fellowship Square must be used to bring our communities together. And the apology that I issued last month was not to a part of the community, it was to the whole community for what happened and the offence that was caused. And I want to again take this opportunity to apologise for any offence caused. And that has been felt by many in our community, regardless of which part of the community they identify with. I'm committed to working with the community and with councillors to develop our fellowship programme and to find a way that uses our public square in a way that is meaningful and harmonious and goes beyond nationalism, which I think is something that doesn't bring us together. Our intention is to celebrate our communities, work with our communities, rather than to cause division. We've already begun that review into processes for any flag raising requests in future, and will ensure that we consult widely on future events to avoid causing offence, and ensuring all communities are involved in future programmes. We'll consult with community representatives to find ways to celebrate our diverse community that makes our borough such an amazing place, and that will take into account cultural and historical sensitivities. These plans will be published, they'll be transparent, and they'll be made so that everyone understands how Fellowship Square will be used in future. It's essential that all communities are included in this conversation, and I have written to representatives from the Turkish Cypriot community to invite them to meet with me and to start that conversation. I want to thank Nafia again for taking the time to attend this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We have also received a request from local resident Amar Jones on the new waste incinerator planned by North London Waste Authority. Mr. Jones, you have 3 minutes when you're ready. Yes. Mr. Jones, you have, yeah, when you're ready.
Dear Madam Mayor and Councillors of Waltham Forest, the North London Waste Authority will make a critical decision on Thursday the 16th of December on whether or not to award the contract for building a new incinerator in Edmonton. I'm here today to call on the Council to instruct Councillor Clyde Lokes, Chair of the NLWA, and Councillor Rosalind Dorr, who both represent our borough on the NLWA Governing Board, to vote against awarding the contract. This date has been brought forward by 6 months. Why the rush when we are looking at a project of such immense scale and cost, and that has a disconcerting number of unresolved issues around it? This is a decision that will have consequence for Waltham Forest for 50 years. In fact, far longer, given that it will contribute to the climate emergency. I have seen no evidence that the Council fulfilled its duty of thoroughly examining whether costs of the planned incinerator represent good value for money for taxpayers. Incinerators emit significant amounts of carbon dioxide, and the Climate Change Committee therefore demands that carbon capture and storage technology is installed in all energy from waste incinerators before the end of the decade. Cost is not included in current budgets, and the technology has not even been proven to be effective. The largest trial to date is 4,000 tonnes per year. Edmonton incinerator will emit 700,000 tonnes per year. It would seem likely, therefore, we could end up in a worst-case scenario of installing this technology at a high cost, but it then proving insufficient in meeting stricter environmental regulations in the future, resulting in a stranded asset. Other future costs will arise if and when the government decides to include energy from waste incinerators in the UK emissions trading scheme, likely to happen as early as next year. This would mean that taxpayers in North London have to shoulder an estimated £25 million per year. Again, this does not seem to be in the current budget. Then there is the issue of overcapacity. Sadiq Khan has himself recognised that London is heading for 950,000 tonnes per year incineration overcapacity, again increasing the chances of having a stranded asset on our hands. NLWA are planning to get around this by importing waste, something local residents have not been consulted on. Surely the council should be examining whether reduce, reuse, recycle policies do not prove better value for money, including new advanced mixed waste and high-value plastic sorting and recycling technologies. Of even more concern than a lack of financial due diligence are the health implications for local residents of incineration. The World Health Organization air pollution guidelines state that there is no safe upper limit to the kinds of particulates still emitted from incinerators.
Mr. Jones, you've got 10 seconds to go.
After filtering technologies have been applied, Chingford, Hymes Park and Walthamstow are all close to and downwind from the plant. Studies have linked incineration to increased rate of infant mortality, and that is exactly what we find in Chingford Green and Valley Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you. I'm going to have to stop you now. Thank you. Your time's up. Would the Leader of the Council like to respond, or will you be getting back to the Speaker in writing?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will respond if that's okay. Thank you, Amir, for taking the time to speak to our meeting this evening, and for other members of the public who've also attended tonight. Let me take this off. That'll make it easier. Waltham Forest Council has a duty to manage the waste that we collect and the disposal of that waste. And we currently do this through the North London Waste Authority with 6 other boroughs. As leader of the council, I have a duty to ensure that this waste is disposed in the most responsible way possible. And that's a duty that I hold very, very strongly. The Mayor of London's environmental strategy sets out the goal that London needs to be self-sufficient in its waste management. That means we can't export this problem out of London. And we need to make sure that we send no biodegradable waste to landfill by 2026. That's a real target that means that we have to take decisions now to move towards that. The GLA forecast that even if London achieves a 65% recycling rate it needs 4 energy from waste facilities, and that includes the new Edmonton plant. So it's a London plan to deal with our waste. The existing plant in Edmonton is the oldest in Europe and has been treating North London's unrecyclable waste for 50 years. It is increasingly unreliable, it's prone to shutdowns, and it needs to be replaced urgently. This is not a decision that can wait. Alongside the 6 other boroughs, Waltham Forest has supported North London Waste Authority as they've developed their proposals over the last decade to replace the plant. The North London Heat and Power project secured its development consent order from the Secretary of State in 2017. So that's a decision taken by government in 2017. And this followed a recommendation to grant consent by the Planning Inspectorate in its examination report. So the DCO process is the most rigorous consenting process in the UK, which all nationally significant infrastructures must follow. And before submitting that application, the North London Waste Authority had to prepare very detailed documentation, including a full environmental impact assessment and a full case showing the need for the new facilities. As you've alluded to, the North London Waste Authority are meeting soon on the 16th of December, and they're meeting to decide the outcome on the procurement of the Energy Recovery Facility Works contract. And this will be informed by a procurement report, a value for money statement. You referred to the way that value for money is being assessed as part of this proposal, and a review and reconfirmation of the business case. While the necessary decisions to approve the project were made several years ago, as the leader of the council, I support these proposals because they're the best way for us to manage Waltham Forest's unrecyclable waste. And let's make sure that we do consider the science and facts properly, rather than the myths that we do hear bandied about in our borough. The proposals for the Edmonton Eco Park represent the best way to tackle the climate emergency. They prevent rubbish going to landfill and they reduce air pollution. The North London Waste Authority is building what is the greenest energy recovery facility in the country. This will generate enough electricity to power 127,000 homes and heat that will supply heat and hot water up to 50,000 local homes and businesses. That's an extraordinary plan. Since planning has been granted by government, 20 other similar energy from waste facilities have been given planning permission, and none reach the same environmental and technical standards for cleaning emissions in our energy recovery facility. This same technology is employed in a project in Copenhagen, and some of you may have seen it on the BBC's Earthshot Repairing Our Planet series. It's really worth a watch. It shows the pioneering approach to cleaning up urban air that the plant will use. As a council, we must, again, take responsibility for our own waste, and we must take decisions now. We can't leave it until it's too late. Our residents need us to take the right decisions now. We cannot risk reliance on more environmentally damaging and costly waste processes in the future. And let's be clear, what is often asked of us is why can't we transport our waste to somewhere else? Exporting waste or out of London would require 30,000 extra lorry journeys per year, and it would also mean less accountability for residents in terms of what happens to their waste. No borough offers the range of recycling opportunities that we do. We're the only borough in London that has free waste and recycling centres. No borough collects batteries, textiles, small electrical items from the doorstep as we do, and we're still pioneering different approaches to recycling a range of materials. We'll be, for example, collecting coffee pods from the new year. But what it shows is we are determined in our commitment to increase recycling at the same time as building this new facility. The North London Waste Authority has carried out detailed forecasts which take into account higher recycling rates in the future and which we're committed to delivering. So embarking on this plan is not tying us to low recycling rates in future. This is something we have to do in parallel. The proposed new facility will be able to adapt to higher or lower volumes of waste, and the ERF is based on this basis in terms of the needs of North London. If efforts to reduce waste happen more quickly than forecast, which we dearly hope and work towards, with the government taking more action to make this a reality, then the new facility will still operate at lower levels. And what this means is the North London Waste Authority will not need to import waste from outside North London boroughs or indeed to other countries, and it will not compromise residents' efforts to recycle. The new facility can therefore accommodate a range of outcomes based on society's needs. And in doing so, it's in line with our duty to plan responsibly for our residents' needs going forward. And we're committed as a council to going forward with this plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This obviously comes to the end, and we now like to move on to the next item. So thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay, item 5 then, members' questions. We have received 7 written questions, which are set out at Appendix A of your order paper. We will take all the responses as read. In line with the public health measures Council has taken for this meeting, can I remind members to keep supplementary questions and answers brief and to the point. The first question is from Councillor Bess to the leader. Councillor Bess, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had still been working on the old advice that we weren't allowed supplementaries, so this was so that's why I put in so many questions. So I was asked the leader, on the basis that she is comfortable with the new Edmonton incinerator capacity, does that mean that she disagrees with the mayor when he says that London does not need any more waste incineration capacity, and that after the Edmonton incinerator is built, there will be a surplus of 900,000 tonnes of incineration capacity across London? Does she disagree with the Labour mayor?
Councillor Williams to respond.
Thank you. I think in my response, Councillor Bess, I made it clear that the Mayor of London is supportive, and this is indeed in his plan for what we need to do in terms of our waste disposal and energy production. What I'll do is I'll make sure I send you a detailed response responding to your particular question about the tonnes of CO2 produced. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question. Did you
Yeah, I had several questions on there, so I think.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, I thought, a supplementary question is normally, one question.
I did submit as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So.
How do you want to do? I'm sorry, Councillor Best, we're going to have to move on, but obviously if there's anything else that you need.
Perhaps a point of clarification then on the mayor, that he said to me on the 22nd of November that I have been clear that London does not need any additional incineration capacity, and so the suggestion that the mayor is in favour of this is incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you, The second question is from Councillor Moss to the leader. Councillor Moss, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. Reference is made in the response to the affordable housing that is provided as part of the Lea Bridge development being done by an affordable housing partner. It is usual for our Section 106 agreements to require those partners to be registered providers. And despite its name, Square Roots Registered Provider Limited is not yet a registered provider for the purposes of social housing regulation. Can the leader please confirm that there will be no delay to the Lea Bridge project to accommodate the often lengthy process of achieving such registration should London Square wish to nominate Square Roots Registered Provider Limited as its affordable housing partner, as this process can take often 2 or even 3 years, and it is not guaranteed to be successful. Thank you.
Councillor Williams, do you respond?
Thank you, Councillor Moss. I'll get back to you in writing on your query. Thank you.
Thank you. The third question is from Councillor Bess to the leader. Councillor Bess, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question 4 is from Councillor Bess to Councillor Miller. Councillor Bess, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Question 5 is from Councillor Sisanka to Councillor Lokes. Councillor Sisanka, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, thank you, Madam Mayor. With regards to the Charter for the Vegetation, it's actually a very important piece of work because it sets out what sort of soil, fertiliser, etc. people should be using so it's not harmful to the environment. Does the Deputy Leader recognise that this piece of work needs to be done? And he hasn't actually answered my question, when will it be done? Thank you.
Councillor Lokes to respond.
I'll respond in writing, Madam Mayor. And once again, my apologies, Councillor Sisanka, for the delay in responding to your original questions.
Thank you. Question 6 is also from Councillor Sisanka to Councillor Miller. Councillor Sisanka, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, Councillor Miller, we had a meeting with you, Councillor Moss and I and Councillor Summers, where 9 stories was proposed to us. And I do recognise that you have not put height within the document. However, to say that 9 stories isn't in there is a bit, it's not really true. Do you recognise that you have put forward plans for St Albert's Corner, which involves 9 stories?
Councillor Miller, do you want to respond?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So I'll provide a detailed answer to Councillor Sisanka in writing, but the document very clearly does not propose a 9-storey building for Albert Crescent and Albert Corner.
Thank you. And finally, question 7 is from Councillor Sisanka to Councillor Lokes. Councillor Sisanka, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Mayor. Does the Deputy Leader recognise that the transport infrastructure in South Chingford is not the same as the rest of the borough, and therefore would he consider free parking, whether it's a little bit, whether it's limited for a few hours for residents who do not have a train station or adequate bus network? Thank you.
Councillor Lokes to respond.
I think my response adequately covers the issue, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
We now move on to item 6, Gambling Act Statement of Principles. I call upon Councillor Masood Ahmed to present the report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I formally move this item on the agenda and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I would like to invite Councillor Lokes to second the report.
I formally second and reserve my right to speak, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers? No, thank you. Councillor Ahmed, would you like to reply?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Council has been asked to agree the revised Gambling Act Statement of Principles. Those in favour? Okay, thank you. Those opposed? No. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. That's agreed. Moving on to item 7, Fees and Charges 2022-23. I call upon the Leader of the Council to present the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally move the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I would like to invite Councillor Lokes to second the report.
Formally second, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers? Okay, I see one speaker. Okay.
Councillor John Moss.
Okay, Councillor John Moss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I note from the detailed appendix to the report that it is estimated that we will gather £3.6 million from people living in private rented accommodation in Waltham Forest, otherwise known as selective licensing fees. It has been estimated that something in the region of 20,000 properties in the borough, perhaps more, are rented privately, and obviously these fees come from the rents that are paid by our tenants. I have two questions really. One is, how many licenses are we granting each year, and what are we doing with the money that we receive? Because as a councillor, and I'm sure councillors from both sides of the chamber will agree, we regularly receive contact from residents who complain about the conditions that they are living in. And I wonder whether some of those funds ought to be applied to inspecting properties before licenses are granted and requiring remedial works to be completed before they are occupied, because it doesn't seem that that is happening as part of this scheme. The other question I would ask is simply, where does that 3.6 million per annum go? Because it doesn't seem to me that our selective licensing team is delivering £3.6 million worth of value for the tenants who actually pay those fees. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks to Councillor John Moss for that question, really. So we have an excellent private landlord licensing scheme. Forget my mask. We have an excellent private landlord licensing scheme in Waltham Forest, and we work with tenants in a range of ways. So in preventative ways, ensuring that they can stay in their properties, doing work to repair those properties, and also ensuring that housing standards are upheld. So I'm happy to take it away as a question in terms of how we spend that £3.6 million and what we do with that money. I think that's the best approach. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Bess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to raise the main concern I had with the fees and charges. And I was surprised, really, given that the time we've had over the last 2 years and the effect that young people and especially young children who have barely lived in a non-COVID world, the time they've experienced, I was surprised to see quite how high the percentage increases on fees for music services for toddlers were in particular, rising at levels of up to 16% of the current fees and charges. Now, when you became leader, Councillor Williams, you did say that you would put children and families at the heart of your leadership, but I don't think they need to be at the heart of our fees and charges. And so I really do think that we need to go back to the drawing board on that. I think that's a big mistake. The time more than ever that we need to be encouraging all parents to be taking up offers of extracurricular activities for children to get back that lost learning, to get back those lost opportunities that so many toddlers have faced in the first 1001 days, which we know are so important. And so I do hope that you look at that again. But that does mean for me tonight, I won't be able to support the fees and charges. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, do you want to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Best. And, you know, Councillor Best is a member of our Scrutiny Committee for Children and Families and is an excellent member of that committee. We have to take difficult decisions where we have unit costs that are above what can be afforded. We have an excellent track record on our music service. We have excellent take-up of that. And we also make sure that the traded services that we have from education fund some of that musical activity. So I'd be happy to provide more detail to Councillor Best or scrutiny members in general. But I think that it's important that where we have unit costs that are too high, we have to recognise that essentially children's services are funded from grants. That's where we fund those services. They are confirmed in, they are statutory services that are funded by grants that are set by central government. So we have to make sure that where we're offering a service, we can actually afford to offer that in a sustainable way. And I think we have an excellent track record in offering musical, cultural and wellbeing activities to children and young people.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Do we have any other speakers now? Okay. Council has been asked to agree the schedule of fees and charges as set out in the amended appendix attached to the order paper. Those in favour? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that is agreed. Thank you. Item 8, Council Tax Support Scheme 2022-23. I call upon Councillor Williams to present the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally move the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I would like to invite Councillor Lotz to second the report.
I formally second and reserve my right to speak, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers? No. Okay. Council has been asked to agree the local council tax support scheme for 2022-23. Those in favour? Thank you. Those opposed? Any abstentions? That's agreed. Thank you. Item 9, polling scheme review. I call upon Councillor Rahman to present the report.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I formally move the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I would like to invite Councillor Fitzgerald to second the report.
I second, Madam Mayor. May I say in doing so that under Hatch Lane Ward, Hayland Library will be a new polling district, new polling station. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is noted. Thank you very much. Do we have any speakers? No? Okay. Council has been asked to agree the proposed polling districts and places and note that the new polling scheme will be kept under review. Those in favour? Thank you. Those opposed? Any abstentions? That's agreed. Thank you. Last item, item 10, appointments. And finally, we have the appointments set out on page 3 of your order paper. Are they agreed? Thank you. I now declare the meeting closed at 20:09. Thank you very much.